it going on TV?
Yeah, Bryce went back
Okay. There it goes. I'm just always impatient. I don't know why. Here we go. Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council Special Session meeting of April 13th, 2023. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Ball,
Present.
Councilmember Schuler,
Here.
Councilmember Lynn is absent, Councilmember Grant,
Here.
Councilmember Tortorello is absent, Councilmember Foreman,
Here.
Councilmember Holman,
Here.
Councilmember Peacock is absent, Mayor Hykela.
Here.
Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Item, consideration of election to participate in the 2022 Global Opioid Settlements with CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, Allergan, and TEVA, including agreement to the terms of the global settlements and the release of all claims against these entities and the permissible uses of monies received pursuant to the settlements for opioid abatement and authorizing the city manager to execute the participation forms for each settlement on the City of Norman's behalf. I need a motion to approve or reject participation in the settlement and authorize the city manager to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. I recognize Kathleen Walker.
Thank you. So we got notice in the last week or so of an upcoming opportunity to participate in an opioid settlement. We were not litigating parties in any of the cases in Oklahoma that are being settled now. And you all previously approved a participation in a settlement back in August with big manufacturers that Oklahoma had settled with. And through that process, the state had made some funds available to even non-litigating parties like Norman. Similar here, there's additional settlements that the funds will be made available to political subdivisions across the state in accordance with population. I believe this Attorney General is going to change this, how they split the funds between what the state retains and what's given to the cities and other political subdivisions. So it's an exciting opportunity to get some funds into the community for the opioid crisis. All of the use of the funds will be governed by the Opioid Abatement Grants Act, which sets out approved purposes for those funds, and they're looking for generally evidence-based, forward-looking strategies, programming, and services used to abate opioid abuse, and there's a long list of things you can do with it. So as those funds begin to come out, we believe they'll be distributed over a number of years, not all at once, and we will be looking to this act to make sure that we're spending them appropriately to affect the opioid epidemic in a positive way.
Are there any questions or comments from council regarding this item? Yes, sir.
Idea ballpark what we might expect to receive?
They're pretty hesitant to give that out. I should try. He just said, the Assistant Attorney General I spoke with said, based on our population size, we stood to get a good amount. This settlement was just a little more than $220 million between these 5 companies. And I believe 75% of that is planned to be distributed among political subdivisions. So I think it will be significant. The last settlement was, I think, $22 million that was made available for non-litigating subdivisions. So this will be quite a bit more than that, potentially for Norman.
Ideas on what we will have to spend it on? I assume treatment and things like that.
Yeah, there's some broad categories here, a long list, expanding the availability of treatment, developing, promoting, and providing evidence-based prevention strategies, substance abuse disorder avoidance and awareness education, decreasing the oversupply, treating, providing early intervention screening, counseling, and support, a wide variety of things, but really all towards either preventing it or treating addiction now. And so we obviously don't provide those services, but we have a lot of great agencies in Norman that do. And so it may be an opportunity to provide some funding to those agencies to really make a dent in the epidemic.
Councilmember Foreman?
That's just what I was gonna ask, if we could get someone like at the warming shelter, would that qualify? If they had like a treatment person?
Yeah, that could be something that would qualify. I think it has to be fairly focused on opioids
Sure.
it's themselves, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, I think, and there's other opportunities for law enforcement and training for law enforcement for dealing with people with opioid addictions or overdoses, things like that. So I think we'll see a wide variety of opportunities to spend the money.
Councilmember Grant?
I'm glad to hear that about the treatment option. Could that also go towards a sobering center?
It may be able to, yeah. I'm happy to look at that. This is a long list, but none of the money's been spent yet, and the opioid abatement board is still developing policies. So I think we'll get some more well-defined information in the coming months. I know they're looking at some policies right now, trying to meet this week. I think they had trouble getting a quorum, but they're looking at ways to help cities implement these programs.
Okay, so and overall, I'm hearing on our end, it'll be an RFP process for somebody if we're dispersing these funds, or are there other ways that money can be spent?
Yeah, it
Without-
may be a split between some for law enforcement, for Narcan supplies or training or things like that. It could be split between law enforcement and agencies, and it would be sort of a grant process probably, like we did with the ARPA funds. This is pretty similar to that where, you know, the CARES Act funding was reimbursement. This is being given to us upfront over a period of years, but we have to be able to tie our expenditures back because we'll be subject to audit. And so it'll be very similar to the ARPA in that way, where we'll be prepared to report our use of funds and document it.
Okay. I was just thinking about that sobering center situation again and how those two things could go together.
Yeah, definitely some potential there.
Councilmember Schuler?
I had similar questions to everybody else about allowable uses, how this might go forward. So what I'm hearing is that it's going to be similar to the ARPA discussions that we had, so we can allocate into potentially different buckets and then go out for disbursement with partnering agencies and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great.
The motion on the floor is to approve participation in the settlement and authorize the city manager to execute the participation forms for each settlement. Council members, you may cast your votes.
How about and passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else from council? We're adjourned.